Okay, let's call a special meeting of the Redevelopment Authority to order. Would you call the roll, please?
Kendall Dvorak, Jerry Henry Gillis, Carol Carls,
Here.
Ted Penn,
Here.
Lisa Vandenavond, Joe Van Derzen,
Here.
Julie Van Straten.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Item 2, approval of the minutes of the September 23rd, 2024 Redevelopment Authority meeting.
I make a motion to present or to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Been moved in second. Any discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, item 3, public comments upon matters not on the agenda. Comments made during the public comment period shall pertain only to matters under the jurisdiction of the Redevelopment Authority, 63F to Pere Municipal Code. Is there anybody that wants to speak? Second time, anybody that wants to speak? I don't see anybody, so I think we can move on to the next agenda item. Item 4 is a public hearing pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 66-1333 5C2 to hear recommendations and public comment on whether the property located at 2535 Lawrence Drive owned by G&G Rebuilders Inc. is a blighted property as defined in the Wisconsin statute section 6613332MBM. So we first of all got under that notice of public hearing, and Kelly will tell us when that was posted.
Yes, the public hearing notice was published in the Press Times on October 4th and October 11th of 2024.
Okay, thank you. So the next item is a presentation from the staff. So Dan, are you gonna kick that off?
Yep, I'll try to keep it kind of high level, but enough information to provide the RDA with the appropriate information. So the site that we're talking about today is in the southwest corner of the city. It's about 3-acre site, of which it's just one single parcel. If you know kind of that where Garrity's Glen South was constructed several years ago, it's sort of in that southwest entry on Lawrence Drive. We'll be talking about that tonight. The items that in which we're going to be discussing is some site history, which is all kind of accumulated or culminated in the discussion tonight for declaring the property as blighted or not. So the parcel in question was developed in between 1992 and 2000s based off the air photo, but it was brought into the city of De Pere, annexed in 2002. Important part to note about that one is when something comes into the city and it doesn't meet the current zoning ordinance, it's non-conforming or legal non-conforming, or for the and it's allowed to stay that way until such time as they want to expand, modify it, then they have to come into full compliance. The parcel owners, as we'll talk about later, have expanded their property over several times since that 2002 annexation. The farm to the north was then subdivided, and the infrastructure developed in 2019 and 2020, and the constructions of the home continuing today. But there was barn and there was equipment that was on that site, which was then relocated onto this site. So if you look at the air photos from those two time periods, you can kind of see how stuff sort of migrated. The very specific tractors and some equipment and some of the actual barn timbers and stuff like that all sort of got relocated. Then in 2020, the owner actually administratively dissolved under the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions. So it's a bit of a challenge to kind of communicate with those owners. Property owner, in addition to that one, has not paid property taxes in over 6 years, and I'll actually go into not only the state and federal and special assessments also, but in general, just local property taxes themselves. Neighboring residents and others are complaining about the eyesore as they enter into the community, as well as the original developer of Garrity's Glen South wanting to make that a nice entryway to this area. And that developer representative is in the room here tonight. And then the city is attempting to acquire the property to clean up the site, return it to a tax-paying property, finish Garriman Drive, and correcting the issues that substantially impair or arrest the sound growth of the city. And that is a very specific description that I had in my letter as well, that what's going on here is substantially impairing or arresting that sound growth of the community. So under Wisconsin's Blight Elimination, Chapter 66, Section 1333, there's a variety of factors that can go all into what contributes to blight. I've bolded on the screen here the various different things that sort of kind of come in play on this site, which is property is dilapidated, deteriorating, or the age or obsolescence of the structures is sort of becoming a challenge. There's any combination of such factors that are connected to ill health, and in this case, we're talking about stuff being parked over properties, leaking vehicles, repair shops that's not being adequately protecting the environment. And as we move down the list, there's more things about inadequate street layouts, faulty lot layouts, or in this case, also special tax or special assessments delinquency exceeding the fair value of the property, which is again a discussion point that we'll have. So on any number of factors, you could take a look at just one of these factors as the ability to declare a property as blighted. In addition to Chapter 66, 1333, there's also a sub-area that also talks about blighted area versus blighted property. And again, the same thing, blighted property, in this case, a specific individual property. Again, all those same factors come in play. So the three findings of blight that are kind of in front of us here as we did our field verifications and our research is the conditions of the character, structures, building improvements resulted in conditions that are detrimental to public health, safety, morals, and welfare of the community. The special assessments, taxes, back taxes of state, federal, and local exceed the fair market value of the land and of the building, and that the largely open area contains lands and buildings which have been demolished in conditions that impair the growth of the community. Meaning, again, we have that eyesore in the community that's sort of becoming, and it continues to grow over time. So on the screen in front of you here is the overall site as it came into the community. So this is an air photo from 2020, but it was annexed in 2000, or sorry, not 2020, 2000. This is 2002. And as we work our way through the slides here, the red area starts to identify where their outdoor storage or legal outdoor storage has expanded over time. So this is a 2005 air photo where we've added outdoor storage. This is a 2010 air photo. We've added more outdoor storage. When I mean outdoor storage, I just mean storage of junk, debris, materials that is unscreened and unprotected from a pavement as well. We get to 2014 and 17. It really didn't expand, but the number of things that kind of fit on that same area did increase. And then in between 2017 and 2020, we saw sort of a large impact, and that's again when stuff came over from the property, from the neighboring property. It started to wrap around the building and fill up some additional spaces. And then as we get to 2023, again, more trailers came in. You also all of a sudden start to see tanks that are now stored on site, but they're screened from public view by some of those trailers. And now that we own the property to the south of it, we can actually enter on our property and take a picture from our property and kind of see those tanks now. So that's what you see in the pictures. But in general, you're looking at about 150% increase in the outdoor storage that was originally approved on that site. And again, this outdoor storage is not screened, it's not protected, it's not, and what I mean by protected, it doesn't have a catch basin in it to protect from oils and from everything else that would typically be seen in a rebuilder shop that you would see if you were to have it be approved today. So here's in your packet, I also did include some of the example pictures, and again, you can see it's just stuff being stored on site, and more is coming every year. So as we look at the overall tax assessments, you're looking at a total unpaid about $318,000 in unpaid federal, state, local, and special assessments. That number will continue to grow as I don't anticipate that they will all of a sudden start paying taxes. But again, we're just in year 6 at this point. The overall value of the property, when we take a look at, it's valued at a $296,000, but with a fair market ratio of 97%, it puts us at about 303. So again, the overall taxes and special assessments exceed the fair market value of the property. That does not take into consideration any environmental contamination or remediation issues that somebody may have to address if they were to acquire the property. So again, just based off of the actual fair market value of the property, it would meet the definition of blight. And then when you take that into consideration, we overall see that the overall one parcel, 100%, or the entire parcel being classified as blight does meet that definition of blight area. And staff is available for any comment or any questions or comments after the public hearing.
Anybody have any questions? Joel?
How come they haven't foreclosed on it for taxes at this point? After 6 years, usually 3 years is kind of like the benchmark. You don't pay your taxes. They foreclose. What's the scope?
Do you want me to take that one, or do you want to take it? The foreclosures are done by the county.
Yes, I know.
And the county has been reluctant to go after tax foreclosures after some recent Supreme Court case law, or Wisconsin Supreme Court case law, as well as some changes to state statutes. And really the big components of that one are specifically related to offering the ability to either buy the property back from family members, but the other aspect of it is if you do acquire it as a county and sell it, any of the profits have to go back to the original owner. The county's been reluctant to do that county-wide, so I'm not aware of too many foreclosures that they've done, period, over that period of time.
Do we have any idea about hazardous waste stored on that property? I see those tanks. What?
Yeah, so we've done a preliminary phase one. It's underway right now. We don't have access to the property. The county technically could give us access if they issued a tax statement on it, meaning that they were intending to foreclose. They could then go in and do a phase two assessment on it, or they could allow us to do it. But because they are not issuing that statement, we don't have the ability to go on that piece of property to do an actual testing phase twos and stuff like that. So right now, all we have are phase ones.
And have they identified anything?
In this case, just on the visual evidence, they would always recommend phase two. I mean, just based off of the information available to us, it's a kind of a slam dunk that this would require phase two. But until we get out there and see some of those things, it's hard to justify. Now, that being said, is the city does have a brownfield fund set aside just for this purpose.
So to clarify, you said in 2020, did they file articles of dissolution or were they administratively dissolved?
Administratively dissolved, based off the DFI database.
Okay, I'm looking actually at the DFI database, and it showed that they're administratively dissolved in 2017, restored to good standing in 2019, certificate of reinstatement in 2019, and 1/2/2020, there's articles of dissolution. So it almost appears like they filed articles of dissolution in 2020. And so the question is, if there's a corporate entity that owns a property with a registered agent and they dissolve, who owns the property then in the absence of them filing a new, kind of a new title or deed with correct ownership?
The way we've been proceeding is based upon who's getting the tax bill at this point, given that issue.
And that's also came from outside counsel's recommendation as well.
Okay.
You are correct. It is articles, not actual administratively. My apologies for that. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to?
And the one last comment that I would like to say before we obviously have public comment period here, but per our requirements, we did notify the property owner. We sent a certified letter that was returned to us. And so after multiple attempts by the post office to deliver that letter, it has been returned, even though there is activity going on site. So
Did we also send it regular mail?
that one we did not, because their requirements are certified.
Okay.
Is the business operating there leasing, or do you not know?
We have not been approaching them because of where this process is. We're not trying to push as well as do a carrot and stick approach, because that tends to get a little mucky in the water. So at this point, we've only just been monitoring for the past year and a half of just what's been going on for activity-wise. We have not had an opportunity to discuss their business finances or how things are being operated there.
Well, I guess there's nobody from the public that's.
Yep.
Then, would you come up here and give us your name and address?
My name is Pat Castor. I'm with River City Realtors at 2170 Velp Avenue in the Village of Howard. I'm the developer of Garrity's Glen South, and we really like doing stuff in De Pere. De Pere is a great community to work with. The only complaint we ever get in the subdivision is that entrance on Garriman, because where this property is, to me, it seems like they on purpose back their truck up right to the edge of the paved road. And so we have a half road coming in there, and then it goes to a normal road after you get past that property. My concern and the people's concern in there that have talked to me about it is in the wintertime, there's a half a road there. And they're going both ways on that half a road. And he comes in with the trailer hitches of his trucks, and those are going just over the property line onto the paved road. And so when you've got two cars that are using that paved area as well, it gets a little tight, and then when the snow comes, they can't, I feel like it's unsafe the way it is right now, and the people in the community do too, that they would really like it if it were a regular road. So we would do whatever we can to help with it, but I don't know what we can do.
Dan, is there a picture up here that shows that road that she's talking about? I went and looked at that. I saw it.
So if you look at it, I think I can move so Garriman comes through here. You see how it's paved halfway through. And then again, there's about a halfway stretch. At the time of platting back in 2019 and 2020, the city attempted to acquire the remaining half of that property through a typical condemnation for road infrastructure. But at that time, the IRS asked us to back off because of the situations with the federal tax liens. And we were at that time told to, I guess you'd say, put in a holding pattern. Since that time, the IRS is apparently not willing to take action on this parcel either. And so that sort of leaves us with the tools that we have available to us, which is, one, the entire site needs to be cleaned up. It is a industrial site that has been expanding illegally. And two, the entire infrastructure needs to be completed on that stretch of road. So this is our tool to us.
And we did try to work with them and buy it from them, but when we did the title search, my title company said don't proceed because what they knew about and told us as a price was very different from all the liens and stuff that were on the property. We couldn't possibly pay what they wanted and do a cleanup and have it be a viable project. So thank you.
Thank you.
Too far out.
So what are we looking at, Dan, as a next step beyond this hearing?
Yeah, so next step, so no action tonight. Again, we're just leaving it open for the 15-day period per our requirements. The next steps are going to be the third step is the RDA to hold a meeting after the above referenced 15-day period. And at that time, it will either recommend denial of blight determination or adopt a final resolution of that blight determination. That time, that recommendation then is forwarded to the Common Council for that, again, very similar type action. We can at that time figure out, do we want to push that to the next Redevelopment Authority meeting? Do we want to schedule a special meeting? Do we want to schedule a combined meeting? Last time we had a combined meeting was in December of 2020 regarding the Mulvas, so it would be a very similar type structure if we did it that one. But it's up to the redevelopment authorities. Do you wish to push off to the regularly scheduled, schedule a special, or schedule a joint meeting with the county?
Joe?
So we got 15 days to wait, right? Is your mic on?
Yeah.
We got 15 days to wait, right?
Mm-hmm.
So should we call a special meeting in 15 days?
Well, when would the council meet?
So the soonest available that the council could meet after that 15-day period would be November 19th. So the 15-day period, I think, would put us at possible meeting dates of November 13th, November 14th, I wouldn't say a Friday, Monday the 18th, or a joint meeting on the 19th.
Seems to me we could just go with a joint meeting, couldn't we?
Pardon?
It seems to me it would be advantageous for us to just do a joint meeting and we would act prior to the council and then they could do whatever they wanted to do at that point. I mean, unless we can't meet for some reason on that night, but if we can, why not meet the same night? What, do you have any preference? I mean,
It's one less presentation I'd have to give for the fourth time.
Well, we could do this before the council meeting. So, you know, if we have a joint meeting prior, we could have a joint meeting with the council, have this meeting prior.
We would just hold a joint meeting at that, I guess you'd say, leading up to the regularly scheduled council meeting, we would hold a joint meeting.
So, but question, will the county step up and foreclose on this property?
We do not believe that will be the case. And then at that time, we will then have to negotiate with the county to figure out what to do with those deeds, and that will be the justifiable reason why our offer will be what it is, will be subject to all of our findings, which is going to be the market value of the property compared to the back taxes, plus also the environmental contamination. So as we go through a condemnation process, we will have an appraisal done of what we think is appropriate, and then an offer will be marketed to that one. I can't imagine it's, if we elected to move forward, that it would be, it would probably be near what we think the lesser of what those values to improve the property would be.
Including the phase 2 assessment also, right?
If we were to go out and do that phase 2 and find information, yes, but we may not have access to be able to do that prior to us acquiring the property.
That could be a real can of worms.
And there's a reason why, though, if you do the phase 1, you could be exempt from responsibilities, and then you can then also use our brownfield program to then apply for grants for cleanups and stuff like that. So we have a specific fund set aside to try to leverage our existing fund for state and federal dollars. And I think Carol's actually on our new brownfield steering committee as well, so she's representing the RDA in that process. So
Because PECFA is gone and done.
What was the date of that meeting?
the 19th is the next council meeting that would be available.
Is that when we're going to have our special meeting then?
Yeah, it'd be right at the beginning of that, I assume, right?
Yeah, it'd be before the actual.
19th of
November.
November?
What, they meet at what, 7:30, is it? Or
7:30.
7:30.
So we'll be in communication. Tony, Kelly, and I will be in communication with the appropriate time, likely at 7 o'clock.
Sounds good. Does that work for everybody then?
We can make it work.
So I guess we went through B, C, and D.
7:30, right?
Yeah, that's when
the
they start.
18th.
We would be prior to that.
Yep.
So what time are we're going to meet at what?
Well, roughly around 7.
Well-
They're gonna let us know.
We'll figure out how much time do we think we need to buffer for that one. Is it 6:30 or 7? We'll sit down and kind of go through that.
Okay.
I'll send you an update.
Yeah.
We'll get that we'll figure that out here shortly. That way it gets on the community calendar, stuff like that.
Okay, is there anything, go ahead. You have something? No, I said, do you have something to ask them, or?
No, we'll be there. So that meeting will be on the 19th, and assuming approximately 7 o'clock. We'll get.
Yep. We'll let you notify if it's different than that.
Pardon?
We'll notify you if it's different,
Yeah.
if it's sooner.
And I think everybody should take a little ride by this property to find out exactly. But we don't really have the real owner of the property, do we? Who it is?
That's been the reason why we're communicating with outside counsel in this process. It's not your typical, I guess you'd say, traditional condemnation
Who the
proceedings.
hell they been sending a tax bill to?
It's been going to the listed property address and property owner, previous DFI database. So that's where they've been going.
So to the corporate entity that has been dissolved?
Well, they're being mailed to the actual address. So, because that's where it was previously listed as. That's who the county has a listed address for. And until they change it, the county wouldn't know any the wiser to where to send it.
All right, is there anything else anybody has?
Tony?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, I think the only thing we have left then is to adjourn if we're done asking questions and you're done making the presentation. I mean, I think it's something we gotta move forward on, there's no doubt about it. If you go out and take a look at it and listen to everything that's been done here, or hasn't been done in the last.
Don't go on the property at all.
Oh, no, I just
Please
rode
stay on the
around
right of
and checked and just looked at it.
I don't think any of us can shed lead.
Yeah.
Are they actually still working on the property? Is there somebody there?
Yep, there's work, yeah, vehicles are coming and going.
Seems
All right,
like
well,
any
we
of us
just-
missed their taxes. By one day, they'd be sending us notices.
Do you want a motion to
Yeah,
adjourn?
we need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I'll second.
Moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. We're adjourned and we'll get notice of the time of the meeting on the 19th of November.